Welcome to an AI training video. This is break falls and rolls for beginners. The purpose of this AI training is to teach the proper technique for break falls and the rolls when you're working with beginners. Now the class planner has the break falls and the rolls scheduled for the beginners, and the students only practice the break falls 3 times and the rolls 3 times on each side. And then you start doing the other drills. Students will have years to improve these techniques, so they don't have to be perfect. Now safety is the #1 objective. For break falls and rolls, once someone gets hurt, they are more likely to quit and they're less likely to try it again. Injuries occur when the pace is too fast or they're using improper technique, especially at the beginner skill level. Now slow it down by using a 3 count, and the instructor can spot errors and hopefully you can stop them before an injury happens. Now the improper spacing is another cause for errors, or not errors, but injuries, especially if a student is not performing the technique right. Now the tumbling mat, this is required for all beginners when they're doing the rolls. And one of the major rules when you're using the mats, do not drag the mats across the floor. It creates friction, and that friction will burn the edges of the mat, the tumbling mat, and destroy it. Now the intermediate students that are put with the beginners, and this does happen from time to time, these intermediate students must perform the technique at the beginner level, not the intermediate level. Now there's no exception to this rule. All students in the beginner group must do the beginner technique. Very important that you follow that. Now break falls for beginner students. They're going to start from the sitting position, and their left leg is going to be bent, their right leg is going to be straight. So we're going to do to our right side. I'm going to sit down and demonstrate here in a second. And the left hand is going to rest on the belly, and this right hand is going to be moving. It's going to be a 3 count. Now the 3 count is not down. The 3 count is when it's back up on my chest. So it's going to go 1, 2. The reason we're counting, the reason we're swinging the hand is this is getting out of the way so I don't post. And then when I do the fall, my chin has to be tucked to my chest so the back of my head does not hit the ground. And then again, on the 3rd count, the student's going to fall straight back, not at an angle. So there's a line on this mat. So when I fall back, I should be in a line with this line in the mat. And my right hand's going to slap the mat at a 45-degree angle from my body. If it's too close, I can break a rib. If it's too far out, I can break my shoulder. So it will look like this. So left bent, right straight, left on my belly. 1, 2, 3, tuck, straight line. This foot can come up if I want, but this hand has to be 45-degree angle. Now, the back fall for the beginner students. You're going to also start from the sitting position. Both legs are going to be bent, basically sit-up position. Both hands are going to start from the belly and are going to swing down 45 degrees from the body. Up is 1, 2. The chin is going to be tucked to the chest, again, so the head doesn't hit the back of the floor. And then on the 3rd count, we're going to roll gently on the back. Both hands are going to slap the mat, and as the back touches the ground, the feet are going to come up 1, maybe 2 feet off the ground. Both feet need to stay together, and the knees are going to be bent just slightly. If the legs are too high, the attacker will just push the legs over the top. If the legs are too low, the attacker will step on them. So it's going to go from 1, 2, 3, from here. I can turn this position. If they're bent too much, the attacker gets me. If they're too high, the attacker gets me. They get me. So it needs to be just a little bit, about 2 feet. Now, the next one. The front fall for beginner students. This is going to start from the kneeling position. Both hands are going to start from the side, and they're going to come up to the face in a diamond shape. So, from the kneeling position, the hands are going to come up, basically 12 inches from the face, diamond shape. And then on the 3rd count, I'm actually going to go forward. I'm going to land on my forearms and my hands. I'm going to be up on my toes. It's going to look like a push-up position. My face has to be turned sideways so I don't smash my face into the ground. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3. So at the beginner level, I'm just kind of falling on my knees and landing on my forearms. Now forward rolls for the beginners. You're going to start with your being on your hands and your knees, because this will provide stability that they need as they learn the roll. Now you're going to bring your right foot to your right hand. It's going to look like one of the stretches that we do during the warm-ups. And then that right hand, you're going to take it off the ground. Your left hand is going to stay on the ground. So you have to have 3 points of contact, both knees and the left hand. And this left hand is your stabilizer, because we're doing it slowly and you need that balance. Now this right forearm is going to actually be placed on the mat. But this right forearm is not going to be in front of me. It's actually going to be underneath me, underneath my left armpit. And the head has to go underneath the left armpit as I do this. In order for my body to go up, I have to take my left foot and push up off the ground. All right, so we're going to do a roll from a different angle. So again, starting from my hands and knees, my right foot up, my right forearm is going to go on the ground right about here. My head has to tuck underneath. This leg has to lift my body up. So as my arm goes down, my head underneath. So now let's talk about the backward roll for the beginner. So they're going to start from the sitting position, just like the break fall. Both knees are going to be bent, and then both hands are going to start from the belly, and they're going to swing down, just like the break fall. But this time, instead of break falling, my feet are going to go over the top. Now for my feet to go over the top, I have to have momentum. To get that momentum, I have to slap on the ground, and I'm going to use my hands and push for my feet to keep going over the top. Now, one thing I have to do is I have to get my head out of the way. I don't want to roll over the back of my head. So I'm going to lean my head to one shoulder, and I'll roll on the other shoulder. Or I can lean this way and roll on this shoulder. So I'm going to turn sideways. So 1, 2, push, turn, and over. And when you're teaching the backward roll, make sure as an instructor you're watching for frustration, lack of momentum, or rolling over the back of the head, because that will seriously hurt the student and they won't want to do this anymore. Now, let's talk about sweeps for beginner students. They are not practiced in the beginner class because beginner students are still learning how to do a proper break fall. So let's let them learn one thing at a time, and they'll learn the sweeps with a partner when they get to the advanced group. Now my final thoughts. Safety is your #1 job. So watch for wrong technique or students going too fast. Now there are a few different ways to teach break falls and rolls, but the method explained here is the only one that you are allowed to teach. There are no exceptions to this because the method, I want everyone being consistent on how we teach the rolls and the break falls to the students. Now that's all I have for today. If you have questions, please let me know. Thank you.